Call to order the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners meeting for November 16th. Please rise for a moment of silence and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm looking then for an approval of our regular meeting proposed agenda, if there are no additions or deletions.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan. Seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda. Are any additions or subtractions to the consent agenda? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Fobi,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is announcements. Mr. Messelet, do you have some?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Danielewski, members of the commission. Just a couple brief announcements. First of all, in terms of some facilities issues, you may have noticed that we have wrapped up the roofing work pretty much for this year, so everything's kind of back to normal in the parking lot. Hopefully you didn't notice, but the new doors were installed, the new exterior doors on door A. Those are the big metal doors. The original ones had been warping, and that went pretty seamlessly. And then just a note, we are starting snowplow season. Andrew had crews out this weekend, and at least got a good trial run for what they're going to be doing all winter. We are implementing the same temporary personnel process that we used last year. If you remember, we supplemented our staff with specifically some of the retired folks who can come back on an on-call basis. So hopefully I think we're staffed up pretty good for the season. And then the last thing, just to note, we are entering into legislative preparation season, so several things are going to come together here in the next several weeks. First of all, our delegation going to Washington, D.C. Is set and ready to go out there. We are looking at dates for the legislative breakfast and tentatively looking in that early to mid-January timeframe, so I'll be communicating with you about availability. And then staff is putting together its kind of draft recommendations like we do every year, and our intent is to bring them to you in December as well. And then in the next month, we'll have our state lobbyist team Skype into one meeting or Zoom in to spend some time with you. The federal one we won't probably do for the full board unless necessary, but we'll wait till after the DC trip. But we'll have the legislative folks come in and be involved with you in that and kind of thinking about next session. That's it.
All right. Thank you for that update. Moving on to our agenda, regular agenda 5.1, consider the conditional use permit for the personal storage structure for car and cruise. Oh, sorry.
Open forum.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, we'll back it up. At this time, we will have our open forum. Keisha, do we have anybody to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair. First, we have Brett Collier of Big Lake speaking on County Road 43.
Okay, Brett, you're aware of you have 3 minutes for your, what you want to relay to us. So, welcome, Brett.
Good morning.
And I really didn't mean to go over you.
Brett Collier, Big Lake. I sent all of you a PowerPoint you should have in your email the other day. Has a couple embedded videos on there that will help you understand what's happening later, but I'll just go through it quickly. We resurfaced a portion of County Road 43 earlier this year. Smoothness. This road is really washboardy. I was questioning how we pay the vendor and so forth. I got the smoothness profile on 43, not really understanding how the numbers work. I wanted a comparable. I got County Road 15. That was a nice smooth road. Still looking at them, every point has its own little grade. When I add up and average the points, they're the same, even though one road is extremely rough and the other road is smooth. There's something wrong there. Something was wrong in the measurements. We need to go back and look at that again. Also, the second part with County Road 43 is striping. On this portion of 43, instead of just painting the roads, we milled about 1/8 of an inch into the road and painted into it because it's supposed to make it last longer. Okay, that's a good thing. Whether that's worth it economically or not, that sort of remains to be seen. But when it rains and when it's dark out, already, you know, a couple weeks after the paint was put down, in which they just put that fine glass dust on there, that's gone. There's no reflectivity. You can't see where you're going. We've probably got that. We've got this issue with pretty much all the roads in Minnesota. And I've had issue with that, full disclosure, back when I was going to college for 4 summers, I worked for the Highway Department in Vermont painting center line. We put beads on there. They last a lot longer. I asked why we don't do it in Minnesota. All the snow plows will scrape it off. Everything's gone that we're painting down there now within a couple weeks before we even get to the winter season. And now that we're milling down to the road 1/8 of an inch, snow plows aren't going to scrape it off because it's below the grade level. If that was actually the problem, the snow plows scraping them off. But if, circling back to the smoothness of the road, if snow plows actually damage the road like that, I'm going to be interested to see what they do to this washboard road this winter.
All right, Brett, I appreciate your comments and concerns. And just for clarification, you are talking about the north side of 43 from the bridge.
From the bridge north, yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Anybody else to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair. Next, we have Diane Arnold speaking on the River Bend Second Edition update.
Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. Just wanted to give you an update from our last county board meeting that we had in regards to the tax forfeited parcel, River Bend Second Edition. I have been in contact with the homeowners that were not able to appear at the meeting or come in person, and I have gotten a verbal consent from them that they are, after explaining to them what the process was and what you, as the board, were recommending them to do, to come together as a unison and having consensus and moving forward with creating the homeowners association, and I have got verbal agreement from them. So I wanted to give you an update on that we would like to start moving forward with that process because it's going to take some time to get the deed ordered and so forth with the state, and then Ms. Haney can finish up on her part, what she needs, and then we'll put it on the consent agenda for the 9th of December. But I just wanted to give you an update where we're at and that we have got unison from the residents in the city of Becker.
Yeah, and then that's perfect. I think that is exactly what we were looking to see happen.
Is this part of open forum?
This is just,
You know, we're not supposed to quit, I mean.
But we're not giving
We
direction.
should
She's just
follow our
giving an
own rules
update.
here. This seems odd that we're doing it this way.
I just wanted to give you an update.
Yeah,
On open
it should
forum.
have been just an update, I don't.
Right. We appreciate
That was just an update for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else, Keisha?
There's nobody else signed up, Madam
All right.
Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close the open forum. Moving on now to the regular agenda. Considering the conditional use permit for personal storage structure for Karen Cruz. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. These are the items from the October Planning Commission. Karen Cruz, property owners Noel and Karen Cruz. Conditional use permit for personal storage. This is in Livonia Township on 20 acres in the General Rural District. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 5 conditions listed in your packet and the findings of fact.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Fobi. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, moving on to the next item, consider the approval of the preliminary and final simple plat of Walker Estates.
And that's 2 lots. That's in Palmer Township on 10.5 acres in the Shoreland Residential District and within the Residential Development Shorelands District of Rush Lake. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 4 conditions in your packet.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second, Madam Chair.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to the next item, consider the approval of the preliminary and final simple plat of Hartkoff Number 1.
And that's a 1-lot plat in Clear Lake Township on 63.91 acres in the Ag District. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 4 conditions.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
Second?
seconded by Commissioner Polby. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is consider the request to rezone from industrial to commercial, World of Wheels Properties LLC.
This is located on US Highway 10 in Big Lake Township. It's 3.37 acres in the industrial district and within a portion of it, the shoreline overlay district of Beulah Pond, a natural environment lake. Planning Commission recommended the rezone from industrial to commercial with the finding of facts that are listed in your packet.
All right, any discussion? No, looking for a motion. Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second, Madam Chair.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? I would like to say I have driven by this property too, and the pictures that are in our packet are not what the property looks like now. They should have taken a picture to show it looks very good. The property owners have done a great job cleaning up the site and getting it ready to start the business that they want to operate out of there. So thank you very much for that. Thank you. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, good luck. All right, moving on to consider updates to the Sherburne County cremation and funeral policy.
Madam Chair,
I missed
World of Wheels has another one.
Oh,
IUP.
okay. Sorry about that, I didn't see it on the,
That's okay.
all right. Moving to consider the interim use permit application and business selling vehicles, boats, farm equipment, auto repair, tire, and auto accessories.
And this is again on Highway 10, Big Lake Township, 3.37 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 18 conditions and the finding of fact in your packet.
Looking for a motion?
Chair Danielowski, I'll move approval.
You broke your streak, Felix.
Oh, sorry.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
Madam Chair, I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, just a quick thank you to the applicants. I know that it was kind of a convoluted process and not one that you expected to have to go through, but we appreciate you guys taking the time to clean it up and do it right through all these steps. So we appreciate that, and we know it's frustrating at times, but good luck to you.
Well, thank you so much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Now, good luck.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Same to you. Thank you.
too.
All right, moving on to consider updates to the Sherburne County cremation and funeral policy. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Madam Chair. How are you? I'm here this morning to talk about our county burial policy. As I understand it, Commissioner Phobie received a contact from a funeral director and had some concerns regarding our allocations, which we have not updated since 2013. That was the last time that we made any revisions, and at that time we actually lowered our allocations, but we did open it up to allow family members to be able to contribute. And the idea was that with those contributions, it would suffice for the funeral directors on their expenses. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. And so I'm here this morning to review some changes. When this came across, it was an opportunity to look at our burial policy in full. And so with that, I've taken the time to contact the other counties, as each county creates their own policy and have differences. And so it was important after 2013 I received a lot of phone calls from other counties as well as funeral directors, and so I wanted to make sure to do due diligence this time, contact the other counties, review their policies, as well as have conversations with funeral directors prior to submitting any revisions. And so with that, what I've done is increase the allocations for direct cremations from $1,000 to $2,000, eliminated stillborn to 3 years, 3 years to 12 years, and just went for immediate burials for adults to streamline the application and the policy process. That's in line with the other counties that are in our surrounding areas, as well as our regional counties. And so when I sent this to the county attorney's office, it prompted some additional revisions as well, in being that we've always been able to request putting a lien if somebody had assets but they could not sell prior to services being rendered. We would have them sign a lien and then collect those monies, and we've been advised that we can no longer do that. So I'm also looking to eliminate that portion of the burial policy as well. And in talking to the funeral directors, they basically, what we have been paying, we're definitely on the lower end in looking at our regional county partners as well as the surrounding counties. We've been on the lower end with what we've been paying. So in looking at all of the policies across the board and what others are paying, if we increase our direct cremations from 1,000 to 2,000 and the immediate burials from 1,500 to 2,600, we're right on average. We're in the middle of the road if we pay this. And in speaking with the funeral directors, they seem to be agreeable to this if this is the direction that we should take. Of course, they would like more to cover their expenses and their cost. However, they seem to be pleased that we would be looking at an increase in these allocations to help them cover their cost, which we have not been doing.
Gina, for clarification, can you explain what triggers the access to the program?
Yes, it's really actually pretty simplified for this process. You cannot have income and assets that are higher than the allocation to become eligible. So if we increase direct cremation, for example, to $2,000, somebody could not have more than $2,000 in income and assets in order to be eligible. So what we find is that the majority, the vast majority of clients who we are approving are folks who are on public assistance benefits.
Okay, that allows them to have a decent burial.
Correct.
Any other questions for Gina?
Now you struck part of it. There used to be an effort if there were relatives that had the wherewithal and that sort of thing to ask them, but we're not allowed to do that. Doesn't.
Well, let me clarify. So if it is a responsible adult, which would mean that if they're parents of a minor child or if it's a spouse, then there is a responsibility and we collect from them.
Responsible for the deceased.
That's correct.
Just be.
Yes, Commissioner, yes, that's correct, for the deceased, that's correct. However, if it's an adult child of a parent, for example, which we see an awful lot of, they are not legally a responsible party. And it's in those situations where we were in the past, up until this point, having them sign liens, but we have since been informed that we cannot do that. So that's the part that I'm striking from the policy.
How about the GoFundMe pages and that?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I've added the crowdsourcing piece within the policy. Since 2013, it was not as popular at that time to have GoFundMe accounts and things of that nature, social media, and raising funds in that way. And so we're seeing this more and more. And when that's happening, it may or may not be in the name of the deceased or their responsible family member. Nonetheless, the intention of why many of them are set up is to cover funeral cost. And so having it in our policy allows us to be very clear in that we would be looking at that as an asset in determining eligibility prior to paying county funds.
Or even after, because in a lot of cases, I would guess that. Or after as well, because I would guess in a lot of cases a burial will have happened, the payment will be made prior to?
So we do not allow any services to be rendered prior to authorization being given,
Okay.
and that is in the policy as well.
And how would you be aware of that? Would you be relying on them declaring that they did a GoFundMe page?
So that's most of the time we do, but we also do cursory reviews, and
Okay.
we look up ourselves to find assets, whether that be in social media pages or whether that be typically, as I stated, these folks are on public assistance, so we generally have their case information. But in the instances of crowdsourcing, usually we're doing Google searches.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner.
And in the instance of a veteran, am I to assume that you're connecting with veteran services and
Absolutely.
the support systems
That's
that they
correct,
have in
Commissioner.
place? Okay,
Absolutely. Yes.
thank you.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions?
We want to be fair and sensitive.
Yes.
But we don't want to
definitely.
we don't want the taxpayers to be abused as well. So
Right.
that's
Definitely.
really what this tries to do, is strike that balance.
Absolutely, and we definitely do our due diligence in looking to see if there are any other benefits that allow for payment. So we're always looking to see if somebody already has a life insurance benefit. Again, if there's VA benefits, Social Security benefits, things of that nature, we're always going to look to that first, and being responsible in that way to our taxpayers.
Perfect. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Commissioner Dolan.
what's kind of the average number of these services that we provide annually?
So that's interesting. It varies greatly. It has increased more in the last 4 years. We generally are seeing in the last 2 years, I can share with you, in 2019, we had 21 cremations and 2 burials. In 2020, we had 21 cremations and 2 burials as well. And to date, in 2021, we've had 19 cremations.
So it seems to hang right
In
around
the last,
that.
in the last 3 to 4 years, it has.
Okay.
And the only reason I ask, so it looks like we're upping from $30,000 annually to $45,000 annually, and that would cover 22 at the cremation. Is that 45 sufficient?
We believe it will be, because again, just because this is our allocation isn't always necessarily what we're spending, because family members are allowed to contribute under our policy. That's not true for all policies in every county, but for ours it is. So even though we're raising allocations, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's always what we're paying.
Okay, and the only reason I ask is because when you went over the allocations went up by 100%, but the budget only went up by 50%, so I was just curious how that
Correct,
correlated.
and also, we are seeing more cremations now than we are burials, and the cremations are less on the allocation at 2,000 versus the 2,600 for burials. And we are seeing more and more cremations.
Okay.
In fact, in this year, that's all we've had are cremations and no burials. So those were the things we took into factoring what we were looking at budgeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Phobie.
I'll move approval of the updates to the county cremation and funeral policy, including an increase in allowances.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And thank you, Gina, for being so diligent in going through this whole process and presenting something that definitely makes sense and is going to be good.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our next item of business is the introduction of the Housing Resource Specialist. You don't look like Tony Masters.
I'm not Tony. Get me instead.
Amanda.
Good morning. I am going to present to you Lori Irwin. She is our new housing resource specialist. I know you've heard of Lori's position. Just a quick preface that Lori started in September. She will talk to you a little bit more about her background, but she came to us from the Salvation Army in Big Lake, so she is familiar with helping folks find housing in Sherburne County specifically, so we really are excited. Already in her tenure here, in just a few months, we have realized very quickly there's more than enough work for Lori to do. She is being very active on committees, committees that are specific to our coordinated entry and our continuum of care. She is helping folks, Sherburne County clients, as well as our staff, find and navigate housing and housing resources. She is engaging landlords, so helping to build bridges. So there's folks with less than perfect credit or rental or criminal history would be more likely, hopefully, to lend to folks. And so we're very glad to have Lori here. So I'm going to introduce now Lori, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her background and maybe a success story.
Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lori Irwin, Housing Resource Specialist. I'm in the Licensing and Intake Unit in Health and Human Services. And some of the engagement of landlords, like she said, I've had a lot of consults with Health and Human Service staff, just kind of coming up with resources to assist the community. And I know that with housing in Sherburne County, I worked at TriCap originally, which is a community action program out in Waite Park for about 3 years. And then I worked at the Salvation Army in Sherburne County, and I worked in long-term homeless programs there, rapid rehousing, just kind of helping people get into housing and provide that support service to continue them in success to keep their housing and in transition. So I'm continuing that now, and one of my success, I've had a lot of people come to me who are housed but maybe can't afford their housing anymore. Maybe they lost their job due to COVID, or so just connecting them with the resources to help them either stay in their current versus rehousing them, or helping them to find something more in their budget. So just kind of connecting them with resources and kind of getting them to a stable place where they can afford their rent and setting goals. So one of my success stories is there's a new property being built, and so I made a referral to it's a persons with disabilities unit. And so his budget is a little bit lower, but we were able to connect him with housing support to get him he hasn't been approved yet, but connect him with that so that he could apply and help him with the process. So we did a housing plan with him and kind of, just wanted to make sure that we were meeting his needs and it was within something that he could afford. And so that was, I'm hoping for the best, but being there also to support if he needed, there's services attached to the unit. So helping him with his budget ongoing, his utilities, they would then jump in to help with that sustaining of the housing. So, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Any questions for Lori? Oh, welcome. We're
Thank
happy
you.
to have you. Thank you. All right, moving on. Next item is our consideration of the proclamation of November as Adoption Month. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm Wendy Hendrickson. I supervise the Child Welfare Unit in Health and Human Services, which encompasses the child protection, case management, and adoption staff. It's been an immense year of change and uncertainty since the last time I was before you speaking about adoption in Sherburne County. And in the time that I was last in front of you, Sherburne County Health and Human Services completed significantly less adoptions in the past year. We had a total of 7 completed to date since last November, and we have 4 more that will be finalized at the end of this month. Many factors have influenced the decline in the number of adoptions that have occurred. Most are pandemic related. Court delays, background studies, locating adoptive parents, to name a few. Minnesota currently has 129 waiting children. One of those is waiting in Sherburne County. We are working diligently with county partners to locate permanent homes for families. One of our county partners is Main Street Family Services right here in Elk River. Through a grant from our Children's Mental Health Collaborative, Main Street Family Services has partnered with us to provide an adoption, kinship, and foster care support group. And over the last 14 months, 22 different families attended the support group. Those individual families have a total of 75 children and 40 with special needs being supported with these efforts. In addition, there were others who benefited from the support group by viewing trainings and speakers on their virtual platform, with up to 41 views per posting. In addition to the support group, Main Street provides post-placement support services to families that are struggling or at risk of adoption disruptions. There were 6 families referred for the support services last year. Sherburne County Health and Human Services appreciates the community and this board's support of our continued efforts to have 0 children waiting for a forever family from Sherburne County. And with that, I will read the proclamation declaring November Adoption Month in Sherburne County and respectfully request that you approve this proclamation. Adoption gives children a brighter future and brings great joy to the adoptive parents. Together, let us support families by supporting the children in need of a permanent family. Every child deserves a loving, nurturing, and permanent family. Whereas finding forever families for children who have been abused, neglected, and abandoned and cannot reside with their birth parents is a priority for Sherburne County Health and Human Services. And whereas many of the children awaiting adoption have physical, mental, emotional needs and require special nurturing that comes from loving homes, adoptive parents who accept responsibility for these children feel that it is one of the most rewarding experiences for them. And whereas it is important to stress that disability, low income, or being single does not disqualify individuals from adopting, and whereas these children need extra patience and support to help them overcome previous hardships, and families who have adopted these children require and deserve community and agency support. And whereas Sherburne County Health and Human Services provides support to adoptive families through a monthly support group, along with offering educational opportunities and social activities funded from a grant from the Bridges Sherburne County Children's Mental Health Collaborative. And now, therefore, the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim November 16th, 2021 Adoption Month, and encourage community agencies, businesses, schools, faith-based organizations, families, and others to celebrate adoption through furthering an awareness of the challenges and issues in adoption, honoring families that grow through adoption, and focusing attention on those children who live in the shadow of an uncertain future while they await permanent families. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy, for reading that proclamation. So that being said, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the proclamation for declaring Adoption Month in Sherburne County.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
All right. Have to absorb that for a second because that's important. Moving on then to our next item of business is consider the American Rescue Plan Act, affectionately known as ARPA, update and recommended approvals and expenditures. Dan.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This week, I'm looking for approval of the weekly expenses in the amount of $73,028.10 that was included in your packet.
Okay, I'd be looking for that motion.
Make the motion, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Next up, and based on our discussion on November 2nd in the county workshop, we have included a Community Resource Recovery Grant Program, and I'll just go over some of the parameters real quick. Recommends a program cap of $500,000, an individual grant max of $20,000, and nonprofits must show a 20% revenue loss or a 20% increase in service demand. So it truly is a recovery program. I know we're going to talk about later some additional programs that we might be looking at, but this is the recovery portion. And I am working with IT to get an application process up and moving, so even if you approved it today, it'd probably be early next week before we could get this out the door. So looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2078. creating the Community Resource Grant Program.
Looking for that motion.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Foby. Any further discussion? And yes, that was going to be my question, was when are we going to go live with it? Thank you for having that answer.
And also, Madam Chair, members of the commission, there's not an end date, it's open-ended.
Okay,
So if you want to have a discussion, otherwise I think we'd recommend the end of December. So essentially, it'd be effectively 2 months, but that's assuming we can get up and running.
okay. All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right, up next is our Commissioner Correspondence. Who would like to go first?
Madam Chair, I can start off.
Commissioner Dolan.
I had Magic Fund, of note there. Magic Fund, the Board of Trustees had PFM do some investigation as to whether there were state statutes and state law that were preventing us from accessing certain types of investments that are otherwise widely used across the country. And they did some research there and presented it to the board, and then that is those recommendations are going to go through AMC, and Julie Ring is putting together kind of a group, a multi-agency group, I guess. It would, commissioners, auditors, treasurers, all those groups are going to get together and take a look at those and see if it's something we want to push forward as a legislative priority, most likely next year, not something we'd see this year. So that was that meeting, and then testified in front of the PUC on Friday for the Sherco Solar Project. That went well. The city of Becker did drop their request for an advisory task force, so that was well received. They wouldn't stop pushing for that. The PUC did ask that in the environmental review process, they are going to include looking at adjacent parcels to the project with similar ownership to those involved in the project for potentially alleviating some of the pain that Becker's seeing. So that was really kind of the only thing of substance within that meeting, that other than what we've already seen. So, and that is it for me.
Madam Chair, Tim, was there a lot of testimony?
A fair amount, not a lot. Clear Lake Township, the city, labor unions.
In support of, for the most part?
What's that?
In support of?
Yeah, yep. And it was generally supportive. It was just kind of exhausting all available options to make it as easy on all parties as possible, so.
Okay.
And also the township, Gary testified.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. Commissioner Smeezing?
Okay, the tentative Palmer Town Board meeting, Gina Hugo gave a very nice presentation on parks. I think it really pays dividends to get in front of those other electeds in the county and tell them what you're doing, and a little sunshine just makes it go so easy, and they appreciate it. There was members of the public there, and Gina did a very nice job of explaining what was going on,
So we could reach out to Gina and request something of that nature for the other townships as well?
I'm sure you could,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
You know, this was a little bit specific because it does
It's
lie.
in there, yeah, right.
In Palmer Township, but I think any township would be interested in knowing what is going on there. It is a county, it's actually a region-wide, statewide, national, you know, impacts of this. So I think as far and wide as we want to go is fine.
And I think of being as we've gone down the road too of the parks process is probably a good thing for the townships to be aware that
Sure.
that's happening. Thank you.
Wednesday, I had a Metropolitan Emergency Services Board meeting in Minneapolis. That afternoon, it was a MICA Zoom meeting. And then I've been with MCIT for some meetings on Friday. Stay tuned. We are very close to announcing our next, our new executive directors. Just a couple little pieces to put together yet, so. And that's all that I have, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Phobie.
I met with Gina and also Molly Hanson at Graham's Park to discuss a program called Unlock It. It's an outdoor scavenger hunt that we're going to be, they're going to be implementing at First Graham's Park, our first county park. It's for teams, boards, individuals, families to just encourage being outdoors and participating in the scavenger hunt. So that was exciting.
Just one question, is that going to be this winter?
I'm not sure when it'll
Okay.
go, but it'll be year-round.
Okay,
Definitely. I
perfect.
mean, the parks are open in the winter, and many of us utilize them. So yes, a great program.
It's a YMCA program that was looking for host parks, and I
Yeah.
think
Yep,
it's
perfect.
a really cool program.
And just a side note, Molly was just thrilled with how open the county is, and Gina, to providing this opportunity. She doesn't get that at every park, so. Stay tuned. I'll let you know, maybe to be a team builder for our board.
Yay.
Just a little side note. Dress warm.
Dress warm.
What's wrong with June?
Elk River Chamber Luncheon that you were all at, honoring our own Dan Weber. Congratulations again to you. Very well deserved. Our TRICAP executive meeting, our executive team met. Lots going on in TRICAP. MICA, I had a MICA meeting. Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Workforce Development Board, I'm on their government relations board also. And then spent some time talking about childcare and the situation in central Minnesota with that board. And then just wanted to mention that you all got the letter from Livonia Township Supervisors as they're looking at their future and what that might mean for them. So
All right,
that's it.
thank you. I attended a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Great River Federal Credit Union in Big Lake. That makes 5 banks now in the community of Big Lake.
They go where the money is, apparently.
They go over. November 9th, I also attended the award ceremony honoring Dan with the Keystone Award from the Elk River Chamber of Commerce. And Dan is so deserving of this recognition. I just have to say, I got from the thoughts of the chamber, their comments on Dan as being one of the most dependable champions, and it doesn't matter whether it's his work with the county, whether it's his work through the chambers. That is a true statement for Dan. And so we do appreciate you, and you definitely did deserve that award, even though I know that you don't like those kinds of recognitions. I'm doing it right now again. Thank you, Dan. Also attended a discussion, we had a discussion on November 12th with the Sherburne County Soil and Water for the MRSC. And I want to touch with that a little bit more in workshop as to some of that conversation and how it's unfolding with our process with the grant and stuff. So just an FYI at workshop for the rest of the board. December 15th, had an open house, or will have an open house for County Road 43, so mark your calendars if that's something that you are looking to, want to see how that plan is going to work or have any input to, so stay tuned for more information. And that's it. All right. At this time then, I will be looking to open the Community Health Board meeting. Looking to approve the Community Health Board meeting minutes from September 21st, 2021.
Tim.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Next is approving the Community Health Board meeting minutes of July 15th, 2021.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Approving now of the Community Health Board proposed agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan, seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to our item of business, consider the acceptance of the Women, Infants, and Children WIC program and peer breastfeeding support. Nicole.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Keisha, I'm not sure if you have our PowerPoint too at some point. For our Wic Grant, we've been involved with WIC for many years here at Sherburne County, and it's been a great benefit to the community. We, again, are looking at our 5-year renewal rate for WIC, so it's a 5-year grant. The reimbursement currently is $18 per participant per time that they engage in the service, so it ends up to be about $300,000 a year. But this time, we were also awarded a peer breastfeeding grant, and so there are only 28 of those in the state currently right now, so we're pretty pleased that we were offered that as well. And that really engages our past participants and those kind of breastfeeding champions who maybe have a direct connect to the community to be able to provide some additional support to different community members. So evenings, weekends, and we would look to hire that early 2022.
Okay. So is that needing a motion of approval?
Correct.
Okay, looking for then that motion to approve.
I will make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on now to receiving the Community Health Services CHS Administrators bi-monthly report.
Thank you. So I have just a few kind of high-level Public Health Division updates. One, I wanted to call your attention to a new report that was just recently published by the Morgan Family Foundation. It's called the Greater St. Cloud Equity Dashboard, and the link will take you right to that site. What's included in there is kind of data about disparities and equities that are existing in the Greater St. Cloud area. They focus on communities of color, immigrants and refugees, low-income residents, veterans, and communities with a disability. And they're using, hopefully, this information to help people have a better awareness of what those inequities look like for those that are maybe making goals in the community to work towards a performance measure or an outcome, and also for grant applications. So it's something that our Public Health Assessment and Planning Group is looking at. What's really unique about this one is it's not only data in numbers, but there's also a qualitative part where they've done interviews and put some of the interview statements in about, you know, what it's been like for different community members in the Greater St. Cloud area. So if you have a little bit of time, it's a great report to check out.
Nicole, I had a quick question. When you refer to the Greater St. Cloud, what exactly does that take into?
So certainly the cities in St. Cloud, I'm not quite sure on their service area, but I know those zip codes in particular. I think there's more data on there. I haven't dug into it totally, but certainly the city areas of that St. Cloud statistical area.
And how do we define where Sherburne County's area is?
Well, we've got the 56304 part of St. Cloud, so certainly that area is always an area of interest to us.
All right, thank you.
We go to the Mississippi River, we include Southeast St. Cloud, a significant part of,
Oh, yeah.
a significant and
yes.
important part of Sherburne County lies to the north and
Right.
the west of
Yeah.
us here.
I just was more information for the viewers that are watching and the people in the room, so.
Yeah, and I think as I just kind of skimmed through it, I think some of the messaging and some of the data probably could be more of a central Minnesota regional kind of picture, at least a point in time. So at least gives us a good idea of what we might want to be looking at.
All right, thank you.
Communities of Excellence, I'm not sure if this has been something that you've been hearing about at all, but it's a Central Minnesota collaborative that I've been involved with while I was at Benton County and have continued here in Sherburne County. A similar type of collaborative, like our local public health assessment and planning group, but it's really a little bit larger. So there's education folks, economics, different quality of life sectors, and then certainly some health partners involved in it. And we've been working on some things. We have a community profile. We have a website that's soon to be launched. And we're really working on a strategic plan with some measures and goals. We're certainly using that equity dashboard, and we're developing a dashboard as well. But we did, we're a part of the PEN network, and we did get an award this last year, so I just wanted to bring your attention to that we really are working on some deliverables and measures. We use the Baldrige framework for the work that we're doing, and it's in a National Learning Collaborative because it hasn't been accepted by Congress yet as a community type of platform, but cities, schools, businesses, they all use that platform. So it's been an interesting journey as we've gone through and had turnover and COVID in the middle of it all, but we're certainly still engaged in it, and pretty exciting for us. And then a quick staffing update. We do have a planner hired, and that person will start in early December. I'm going to refrain from announcing the name as that person wants to alert their own agency. We settled yesterday afternoon, so excited to bring that person on board. We have one vacancy, and we are in the midst of hiring and for that role. And then we had 2 nurses out on family leave for most of the fall, and they are both back now, and we also have a new nurse that started. So we're pretty excited to have a full group back in the building. And I have just a couple of unit-specific updates. I don't think I've updated this group on the First Steps Collaborative for a while. So just a highlight of some of the work that's been happening with that collaborative. To date, we've had over 1,300 referrals to our centralized intake, and that was started in January of 2020. So despite COVID, we've certainly still had a lot of referrals. We are getting referrals from 32 plus agencies and partners throughout the community, so we're excited to see that grow. And last quarter, our caseloads have really been stable. That's kind of on that right side in the lower corner. But what's exciting for us is we're seeing our MESH caseload grow, which is our evidence-based caseload, which of course, a better reimbursement and better outcomes for our families. So that's a little update on there. Any questions on First Steps?
Any questions for Nicole?
Just can you say about a little bit more about First Steps?
So
It is
a 4-county collaborative. We were funded by the Department of Health a few years ago. We're in our last year in 2022. We developed a centralized intake, so partners at CentraCare or Fairview don't have to think about where does this person live. They just send all the referrals to centralized intake, and then we disperse it out. So it really kind of takes the work off of the provider to say, you know, what program do they qualify for? Where do they live? It really just lets us do that work. So they just have to push the button or make the call and send it to us. We have a full-time coordinator for the 4 counties as well as a data analysis, which obviously she's working very well gathering our data. And then different positions or expansions are funded through that. So if we're seeing clients across counties, sometimes a Sherburne County nurse may see a client in Stearns County if they had originally been in Sherburne. We're able to use expansion funds to cover that cost, which is, you know, part of the program that if they have a home visitor and they've built a relationship with, it's good to continue that same home visitor.
And this is focused on our littlest ones.
Yeah, so pregnancy through age 2.
That's kind of what I was asking for more. Who gets
Yes.
these services? Who are the people, moms and babies and pregnant women and kids?
Yes, and this model is a little more flexible than some of the other models that we've used in Minnesota and in particular in our 4-county region. It's got wider criteria, so we're able to serve more folks. It's not quite so strict.
Okay.
And then a quick update from our health promotions unit. Wic, we still are doing virtual visits for the most part, although we do offer in person. I will tell you most participants like to do the virtual visit at this point. So we're continuing to offer those. And then just a few little updates on our Wic garden. They had a really successful garden this year with over 175 pounds of food that were donated to CARE and the Becker Food Shelf. So I believe they're hoping to expand next year. And then there was some additional work done with our SHIP program over this last year. A lot of things around mental health and well-being in our schools. And there was just some quotes from some of the school districts on how they use those funds, and we're very happy to receive those. Any questions on those?
Any questions for Nicole?
And Nicole, where's our Wic Garden located? I should know this.
Parking lot.
Is it right back here, the one here?
Yeah, I don't know my directions, but
It's in the large island between the driving lane on the south end of the main parking lot and the first parking row. So
Okay.
when you leave today, just look to your left and you'll see it set up there.
That's what I
Pretty well
thought.
froze up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's pretty
Well, yeah, I think
Done.
the
Backyard.
stands are still there though, so.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they
the
are.
raised beds.
I don't know, I still had some flowers blooming out of a bunch of dead stuff, so some things are hardy.
And then the long-awaited COVID update. So I wish I had greater news to deliver today, but if you've watched any of the news today, Minnesota's kind of in the hot seat with the number of cases here across the U.S., and we are no different here in Sherburne. So this is kind of our cases over the last year. As of November 8th, we were already over 600. So again, not unlike November and December of 2020, we continue to see those cases rise. And cumulatively, we're seeing, our 30 to 39-year-old range as the leader in those cases, followed by our 6 to 19 years, and then the 40 to 49. We've had almost 17,000 cases to date. We've had over 700 cases hospitalized. Good news, our death rate continues to be lower compared to some of our partners across the state. The majority of those, 109, have been unvaccinated, and 9 have been vaccinated. So we're seeing that vaccination certainly has played a part in that death rate. I think the only other thing that I would say, our positivity rate here in Sherburne County is about 14%. Our state is at 10%, and our Central Care partners have been in the high teens, 17, 18%. So we continue to see a lot of positive tests around here, but that also lets us know that we're also testing at a good rate too. So we're still doing a lot of tests, we're finding a lot of the virus, and hopefully isolating those cases when we can.
Percentage of breakthrough cases? Do we
It
know?
is, yeah, it is on the MDH site. I did not record them down. It's still small, but certainly more than we had anticipated, I think, when they first started releasing the information. We're finding the vaccination is waning for a lot, and those booster doses are important.
Well, I think a lot of breakthrough cases, they maybe aren't testing too. So,
Correct.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at information, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. One thing we've been doing with the schools, those is really looking at the 0 to 17-year range. And so the blue was last year for the school year, and the orange is this school year. So we certainly had started out in the fall much higher than we did last year. Again, testing has been more available, and we did not see a lot of those mitigation strategies in our school system. So I'm glad to see there was a little bit of a dip, but if we look to November and December of 2020, I anticipate we will continue to be high over the next month or so. And we've made some good gains with our vaccination throughout the county. We still do lag behind the state range, but we're certainly not the lowest any longer. And we've just begun to really do that 5 to 11 age group, and we've had our first clinic last night to serve that group. But other providers in the county have been doing that now since we've gotten the okay. For our most vulnerable areas, again, that 56304 in the East St. Cloud, we're certainly making some good gains there. It's not the lowest for vaccination rates, but one that we certainly are aware of and trying to ensure that we have accessible vaccine for that group in the East St. Cloud area. Elk River is really doing a great job in leading the way there in that 73%, so that's been pretty much our biggest gain throughout the last quarter. And just some tidbits on COVID for us in general here in local public health. Our directive really is to focus on the unvaccinated. So those folks that are needing boosters or third doses, we certainly can support those, and we are, but really we're working on those first doses and second doses for people. Last night, we had our first clinic in the Zimmerman School, and we served 65 students there. We have another one planned next Monday for Becker School, and we've added some more appointments because we had such a good response. And then we'll be doing vaccine clinics for that 5 to 11 age group here at the Government Center at the end of the month. Because this little age group needs some other strategies, so, keeping kids occupied, a little more time with each appointment, we're being really deliberate about that is the only group that we're serving for those clinics. We do still have some local incentives. We were able to obtain $25,000 for Sherburne County to offer incentives for our folks. And we have gotten some really great feedbacks from families. In particular, last night, one of the gentlemen said, "This is groceries for my family for the next 2 weeks. Thank you so much." So feeling good about that. We have to use them by the end of the year, and I believe we are on track to do that. So there's also a lot of statewide incentives right now, so we continue to see them being utilized. And then just wanted to highlight again that docket app. If folks are concerned about their vaccination status and they've lost their card, they can download that app and find all of their vaccines that have been entered into the Minnesota system. And we've also been working with local providers around testing gaps, so noting that we had some evening and weekend gaps in particular areas. We've been working with them to at least identify where those areas are, and then they have offered some additional testing opportunities, which has really helped out a lot of our school-age folks. There we go. And then just some additional highlights. So we've done over 16,000 vaccines just here in local public health. We've done 460 vaccines on the wellness bus, and now it's a little bit more difficult here in the cold weather and with some bus issues, but we anticipate that we'll continue to do that as long as we can. And we've had over 100 different events, not including our routine Tuesdays. This week, we're utilizing the UCare bus. They have been great partners for us when we have an issue with our own scheduling or the items. They make it available for us, provide a driver, and support the clinics.
Have we had some trouble with our bus?
It's in the shop right now.
Hopefully under warranty.
Yes.
We had to use the big hitter to make a call or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better response than we do.
We had a few episodes where the generator did not work, so we had portable lights and would start it to warm it up and turn it off. So we're very glad it's in the shop.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else?
That is all I have.
Any other questions for Nicole?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Dolan.
Nicole, question for you. Is anyone doing any type of, for lack of a better term, like an exit survey on vaccinations as far as why people are getting them? I look at our countywide numbers and the big jump in Elk River, in my head, I kind of want to associate that with employer mandated vaccines due to the large amount of people that commute into the metro from that area. And just curious if anyone's tracking that type of stuff.
We do have a sentiment survey on the website, so if you log in not from a county-issued computer, there's a sentiment survey. We've had some people respond, but not a lot. I think a lot of people have just said, wait and see. Even with some of the approvals, they're still just not comfortable. And we've heard that for sure with the 5 to 11 age group. We want to wait and see, give it some more time.
Yeah, and I'm more looking for after they receive.
Why they
if
took their
MDH
vaccine.
or anyone is saying, I decided to do this for health reasons, I decided to do this because my employer mandated it, I decided to do it for whatever reason. Is anybody collecting that type of data or no?
Not that I'm aware of. That's a great question. We have a call this afternoon, and I can certainly ask if anybody's done any work around that.
It'd be interesting to know if the carrot or the stick is working, right?
Is there any testing done on natural immunity? Is there any numbers that have been generated that help us with that?
I'm not sure on all of the studies, but they've said if you've had the infection, that you are protected, but you're better protected if you also get the vaccine. So I'm sure there was a study. I'm not sure how big it was and who it really all applied to, but.
Thank you, Chair. So since we're trying to focus on those first and second shots here, understandably, if people are wondering, can they get boosters and things like that through like Fairview or Centricare or the Walgreens? I'm assuming.
Absolutely. Yep, all of those
All of that,
providers
okay.
are pretty much offering the.
Few people have asked me, I got my first shots at the government center, so I'll let them know that.
And the criteria is pretty broad for boosters. When you read through it, there's probably not a lot that wouldn't qualify. Yeah, pretty readily available. The Find My Vaccine, again, if you just Google Find My Vaccine, pop in a zip code or a city, and it will give you a whole listing of what folks are offering.
Perfect. Yes.
One other thing, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but should you need other transportation, like the UCare support, possibly TRICAP would be something to look into.
We have not thought about that, but that's a great idea.
Great. Any other questions for Nicole? All right, thank you for the update, Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time then, we will adjourn our Community Health Board meeting. There is a break. Do we need the break or can we, I'll reconvene, you want the break? Okay. Yes, that's what, but I got, okay. We'll take our break. We'll be back in 10, so 10:20.